So I'm delighted to be talking today to Richard Coles. Welcome.
Hi, Barclay.
We're talking because you are hosting our Professional Service Management Awards at the Landmark Hotel, and we're looking forward to that. And I thought it'd be good just to have a little chat about professionalism, what that really means.
Yeah.
What's your sense about what it is in whatever industry to be a professional?
I think it changes a lot. I mean, I suppose initially and fundamentally it's about having some sort of grip on your subject, which is to do with knowledge and experience and a certain skill set. But more and more it seems to me it's about connectivity. I mean, I have a strangely hybrid life doing, 3 or 4 different things, but then so do lots of people. And trying to do that in a way which keeps it coherent is often about trying to work out what goes with what and finding skills that are transferable. And also meet the necessary standard in order for you to do your job properly. So it's 2 things. On the one hand, it's kind of experience and knowledge, but on the other hand, it's being alert for new opportunities and new configurations that come about, especially when you're working in partnerships across different disciplines or different industries. And I suppose IT is ideally placed to know something about that.
Well, it's very relevant what you say in terms of transferable skills. We are at a crossroads in our industry as to whether we may still be relevant in a few years' time as people working in technology, and that's always thrown in our face regularly. And I think many of us think that we will still be here in some format, but we have to change, and change is the challenging part, because you have people that go into technology and see themselves as being that, I am a guy who does this. I have this particular type of screwdriver and I fix a PC that way, or I understand this program. But now I'm being asked to do customer service or marketing or some other business tech. So I suppose that's where we're trying to find the nub of professionalism.
I'm sure there will always be people in a bunker with a screen doing that kind of thing. But I think when you're getting into sort of working with other partners, working in a more flexible way in industry, you have to get out of your bunker. Someone's got to get out of the bunker. And I think one of the key things, of course, is understanding what the people you're working with are thinking and what they want. And you can't really do that from a brief. I think what you have to do is kind of live in their world for a bit or walk in their shoes for a bit. And that's when it gets interesting. And it is, of course, challenging because people get very used to certain ways of working. But challenge is opportunity. And I think you can get enormous energy from that, and sort of reinventing what you do and thinking about what you do and maybe reshaping what you do can release energy that otherwise you might not get.
That's exactly what we're talking about, is you can't hide behind the screen, you can't sit at, you've got to go out and actually engage with people. And because technology has become used by everybody and their dog and their granny, then they have everybody's got an expectation. So it is about getting out.
And so much is about managing expectations, because it's easy to have an expectation. It's harder to have a realistic expectation. I work for a housing association. I'm on the board of a housing association, 4,500 units. It was local authority that's now been transferred to a social enterprise. So that's very different. Public sector way of working all of a sudden meets the disciplines of the marketplace and corporate life. And that's been good at releasing energy. But it's mean we've had to get smarter and quicker in dealing with the needs of our tenants, and the way we do that is through IT. So we found ourselves with an IT system that wasn't really adequate, and we've had to acquire one, build one, quite quickly in order to be able to do what we need to do. And of course that was the really interesting conversation, was getting together with the people who built our IT, understanding the needs of our sector. And if we get it wrong, of course, it's not just that our customers are disappointed. We're talking about housing, which is fundamental to people's well-being and indeed the well-being of communities. So getting our point of interaction through IT right is really important.
That is very, very challenging, I think, for people who are not used to change. And I know the world now has changed, that everybody does different things, but I wondered from your perspective how you made that jump from, the world of music to what you do now.
I started off as a chorister, so music and church came together very early for me when I was 7 or 8. So I kind of grew up in that, so it was always there. Although the church part of it faded to grey very, very quickly, and I was only interested in the music. And then it was kind of running away to London at the beginning of the 1980s, and English public school chorister all of a sudden found himself in the excitement of London, which was very dynamic and full of bubbling subcultures that were coming up, and kind of got to be part of that. Was really fortunate to meet Jimmy Somerville, one of the great singers of that era, and that was my sort of introduction into pop music. Learned a lot quickly on the job, and of course that was also my introduction to electronics, apart from light switches and kettles and things. And we was making music at the beginning of the rise of that kind of technological big bang that happened in music. Working with someone like Mike Thorne, who was using a synclavier, Trevor Horn was using Fairlights, all those, I'm sure, familiar to lots of people who work in your industry, but that new emerging technology. And I think that just made me used to a certain kind of speed of movement or something. And then from that I got into broadcasting, because it's quite a short step from, pop music into broadcasting, poacher turned gamekeeper. Although my IT experience in the church is basically about me trying to get my laptop to talk to my printer, boringly pedestrian thing, because it's not an organisation that is particularly IT fluent, I don't think. And how do you get an organisation which is organic and face-to-face to take up that changing world?
Now every organisation uses it, and we have a different way, I suppose, of dealing with.
Yeah, it's kind of like money. You need it. And I can remember a friend of mine, in fact, she was the manager of the Communards. In 1994, she kind of left pop music and started working on the internet with that. And I remember her saying, the internet's going to be bigger than printing. And I thought, grand claim. And anyway, she went on to found and run a very successful company that absolutely saw the opportunities that arose because lots of big corporate interests needed to get on the web and make sure that their intellectual property was protected and that they knew what was happening. Another thing that happens is working out how IT can help you in a way that's appropriate to what you do. I mean, I don't want great complexity. I don't want an infinite number of choices.
And these days we talk as much about the experience of what it's like to do that as opposed to whether it actually works. I mean, the functionality is there usually, but it's more about how you consume it.
And then it's not just about numbers. Of course, you need to know the pattern of someone's investing and spending, but it's much more sophisticated than that. It's about who they are, what they like, where they go, the things they're interested in, and it all builds up this picture, which produces this number, which, knowledge is power, I guess.
It is, and it's something that the industry has kind of missed for a while, the understanding the people part. It's been focused on the numbers, but actually the value that an internal IT organisation has is knowing the people, knowing what they like and then what they need. But interesting also about, you mentioned about music, because there are so many people in our industry that have come from music and find themselves in service management, not necessarily by design, but here we all are. That's been fascinating. I really look forward to the event on the 7th of June. And we'll see you then. So, Richard, thank you very much.
See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.